Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ethics. It's the Hope I Can't Stand. I am Connor Bromley. I am joined today by my good friend Taff AltEnding. How are you doing on this fine Monday evening as we record?
I am pretty good, I think. Yeah, I've had a chance to reflect on our post-match chat, and I'm feeling extremely positive. Although I was positive then, I think, as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Better,
I
even
think
more positive.
there were some people saying that we were maybe picking out a few negatives, but I don't know. Maybe we're just spoiled. We have to find the negatives in the positive time. I reckon your T-shirt's gonna get a lot of positive comments. I don't even know what it is.
Mean Steed. It is a motorcycle in a shape of some sort of flaming devil horse. It's a heavy metal
Nice.
band, but they are nobody of any great importance. I don't even think they're together again. I see a lot of local bands, and if they do an awesome T-shirt, I tend to buy it.
Fair
So
enough. There we go. Well, I'm sure somebody in the comments will point out Mean Steed. Right. Anyway, I've not made a massive plan for this because I think you're the guy who's going to have all the statistics and all the things to explain how Sunderland defeated Crystal Palace. But before we dive properly into that, now we've had a couple of days to digest the win. I made a video this morning, so if people want to check that out, kind of giving my thoughts on the game. But I think the thing that impressed me most was just that Sunderland have now had this ability to win these quote unquote routine home wins where we play against Wolves and we get a routine home win. We play against Crystal Palace, we get a routine home win, as they call it. We play against Bournemouth, and it's not routine, but we're 2-0 down, we win 3-2. But it feels like Sunderland now have created a knack of just winning games at home, which you would look at on paper and say, yeah, they should win that home game.
um, yeah, I think it does seem to be routine. But I made that mistake last week at Everton. We got to 80 minutes, and I said to my mate next to me, I said, this is a routine 1-0 win, isn't it?" And then they went and scored for the penalty, and he said in very impolite language, he said, "Don't you dare say anything else about what might happen until after the whistle." And jokingly, I said, "It's all right. Luke O'Neill will score a winning penalty." I mean, I meant it. I mean, and he did. We forgot about that 40 minutes later. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems strange, but I sort of used that phrase last week. It didn't work out, but if you think about it, it is pretty routine. We've only lost 5 games home and away all season, so uh, we are not yet a sport fan base. But I do think that we have come to expect um, a win, or at least the possibility of a win at home. And well, what is wrong with that? Nothing.
No, nothing wrong with that at all,
Yeah.
which is strange. Think about where I mean we did this after the Derby game, kind of the think about where we were to where we are now. But like I saw
Yeah.
Plymouth Argyle shared like a video from 5 years ago today, and it was Joe Edwards scoring at the Stadium of Light to win Plymouth the game. That was only 5 years ago that relegation threatened Plymouth Argyle came to the Stadium of Light and won. And it's crazy that then we flipped that and then we've beaten the FA Cup holders at the Stadium of Light, and it was not it wasn't easy, but it was a win that we deserved, and we were the better team, and the
If
Palace would never
you
get back in the game.
No. If you turned up to that game at any point, in fact, why don't we just show this? If you
There
turned
we
up
go.
to that game at any point after the first half an hour, I think you would have thought there is just one team in it. Now, I know you don't like the XG, but the cumulative XG often tends to tell a story about which team is doing the most pressing. And I know you're like, well, these jumps are, what chance is that? What kind of measurement is it? But if you take the 30-minute mark, where they score their goal, they score their goal, yeah, 30-minute mark. And after then, they add or they do very, very little. And I think if anybody watched that game, if anybody arrived late and watched that game from half an hour onwards, they would have thought only one team is going to win this. And I think they would have been surprised that that team were behind already and didn't score more, frankly, because there's only one team in it. If you join at half time, you think this is a whooping. and you'd be staggered that they were drawing until that second impossible goal goes in. So yeah, routine. We made them look distinctly ordinary. Now I have a question for you about this, because we played Palace, I think, third game of the season. There you go. After half time, look at that enormous ball possession and momentum, where we are totally dominating the game that second half. Really, really important. In fact, after our goal, they get very little. A slight flurry in their favour, but very little, and they don't even match us for possession. So really good stuff. But my question for you is, if you remember the away game, I think it was the third or fourth game of the season, and I remember going to that game being a bit nervous, thinking, FA Cup winners, Charity Shield winners, beaten Liverpool twice, they're a good side, and thinking, this will be tough. And Roofs played a blinder. We held on for a draw, a very creditable draw. And I just want you to try and remember how you felt then and what the expectation was. Sure, they've lost Munoz, Sarr, and Gay from that lineup, but they have added Brennan Johnson, who played at the weekend. We were also missing. You could be forgiven for not noticing. Very good. But we were missing Reynildo. Oh no, he was back. Sorry, we were missing Traore. We were missing Diarra. Nobody else really. But you compare those two games and how you feel about them. I want to know the difference in that feeling for you, because I thought we held on that day very creditably, but we had to work extremely hard for it. Whereas at the weekend, I would agree with you that was routine. I thought we bossed them off the park, and anybody arriving after a half-hour mark could not have thought anything else, frankly. And I think tremendous turnaround.
Yeah, I think that one earlier in the season, we were all still in the Sunderland are going to be in trouble this season. Like, not trouble as in getting relegated, but Sunderland are going to be in a relegation battle. Any point away from home's a good one, and going to Palace, who are deemed to be a quote-unquote hard team to visit. One of them teams where people often say, going to Selhurst Park is always going to be difficult. I think you snap your hand off for any away point in the Premier League, to be fair, but particularly that day. Yeah, I was delighted.
Yeah.
Didn't think we deserved a point, in all honesty, from memory. I think they missed a few big chances. But the thing is I was listening to Roker Report's podcast today, or the Away the podcast, as it's called now, and they had Kieran Brady on, and he was talking about how Sunderland are so clinical, and he's like, that generally, as a rule, we don't create many big chances, but the ones we do get, we've got a pretty good record of scoring. I don't know if the stats actually back it up, but I would probably agree with that assessment. Normally when Sunderland get big chances, we are pretty clinical at putting them away, and I think if you look back at that game at Palace at Selhurst Park, the criticism you probably give of them is that they aren't. Even the big chance they had in this game where Jacques had decided to pass it to them, they were throwing goal. A clinical team probably scores that, don't they?
They do, but I mean, I'm going to give us some credit here and say that the reason they don't and they're not clinical is because we are determined to break things up. And frankly, Roofs makes a magnificent save to prevent that goal. He is without doubt the best goalkeeper in the league. I thought I had some stats here for big chances, but their stats are no better in particular than ours, and considerably worse, obviously, in the last 7 games now we put a beat on them. I think I just wanted to indicate, I agree with you, when we went down to Palace for that away game, I think we were all still a bit nervous about how we're going to do in the Premier League still. But the change in our own attitude as fans, even in the players' performance and the clear belief on the pitch and control of the game, I think we've improved over the season immensely. And I know they're in crisis, but they still have added Brennan Johnson, and they're only missing 2 players, 2 big ones. But they were missing more, but 2 big players. So I just think the change in attitude, expectation, and control in the game was a massive difference. And I'm just interested in thinking about those things as we go through the second half of the season now against some of those early teams, to see the development of our team, I think it's worthwhile looking at it, because you can see this team growing, quickly and solidly.
I
So
think that
yeah, I
that's
just
a
wanted
really
to.
interesting point, because today I was telling you about this before we recorded. I was actually watching this for research. Oh, having yourself a bev. I was watching for research purposes to see what other YouTube channels are doing, and I stumbled upon a channel called the Toon Review. This was like Newcastle fan thing, and they were whinged about
Are
Eddie
they?
Howe
Oh,
and
I thought. Right, it's not about
yeah,
Danger Mouse and Tom and Jerry or anything like that. Then.
no. They were talking about
Cartoon.
how Eddie Howe deserves the sack and all that. But anyway, I was watching their channel today, and one of their main whinges about Eddie Howe and Newcastle was the fact that he only plays the same system. It's 4-3-3. They don't ever deviate from it. Therefore, very easy to predict, and every manager in the league can have a plan for it. And I think often with newly promoted teams, when they come up and they do okay, I'm talking historically, one of the things that sort of undoes them is the fact that they are rigidly married to, we play 4-4-2, we play 4-3-3, and that's it. And that's probably one of the things that's going to hold us in good stead, isn't it? Because me and you could not really make a good fist of the system that we would play next weekend at West Ham. We might be able to guess-ish, but even when we
Yeah.
saw the lineup on Saturday, there is a question of, well, are we playing 5 at the back, or is Trey Hume playing further forward in midfield? It's still
Yeah.
unclear. And I think that's something that kind of holds us in good stead, doesn't it? And will make us not have that, either the second season syndrome, as you used to call it, but often it's second half of the season where teams have played you once and then they know how to deal with you.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have that, because we play in different ways for different games.
No, you're right, but I think it's even better than that. And you have heard Regis talk about things in the past a lot about giving players responsibility on the pitch, and he's not as vocal or as pointy as shouty. I mean, he does do that, but as a lot of other managers, and he asks them to take responsibility for things on the pitch, and they're very good at that. And I think that takes a great deal of superb coaching, because some people coach very rigidly and say, this is your job and only here, and this is what you're doing. But he's not like that. He's a coach that says, this is how we play as a team. And I expect us all to be able to shuffle around, and I expect us all to understand not just what your job is, but what your job would be if you have to cover here for somebody else. And so we go back to that goal that we conceded, where everybody gave Sirkin pelters for being too high up the field. I cannot remember who it was against. Was it against Leeds? I can't remember.
Leeds.
Yeah. There we go. So everyone gave him pelters, and yeah, they did do a back to front.
Yeah, everyone touched the ball.
That. Amazing. Yeah. They're not supposed to all touch the ball, are they?
No, but they did.
So I remember in the review after that I said, I don't think you were convinced by me, and I don't think anybody else wanted to hear it either. But I said, look, I didn't think that was such a bad thing for Sirkin, because if you watch the play, the players rotate to cover that position. And this happens a lot, that players see people in, when they press or they rush up or they drive forward with the ball, players swap into positions, and you actually have a team, if you watch, increasingly capable and confident of playing in other positions. You will frequently see Siddiqui at fullback, and also occasionally on the wing, and players who are in those positions you expect having rotated into where Siddiqui might be. And so the team is extremely fluid like that. So it enables Bris to play Hume and to be able to say, today your focus is going to be a midfielder or a right winger, but you're going to have to come back here at this point. And everybody understands, okay, so I know what my focus is if I end up having to swap places with him. And so the team is really, really good at that. And I think it's a mark of an outstanding coach to be able to put a team in half a season, put a team together that is supremely confident in those rotations and more importantly, cover positions. I watched the Wolves Newcastle game last night, and I have to say, I thought Wolves were appalling in terms of understanding where their own players were in defence, about the gaps they left for Newcastle, and about they were just pulled the, not particularly skillfully, but they were just a mess in a way that our team never is. And that's what makes us so difficult to score against and break down, because we're organised and everybody understands what the team shape is rather than just their own job, and they cover it. And I think it's a mark of an extremely good coach. And I thought watching Wolves play last night, they looked vastly horrible in comparison to us. So, you know, we're a really good side, a really well drilled side. And I think you're right that flexibility, not just in how we're going to play, but that the players on the pitch understand how they can change things and how they can play. It's really important. And Xhaka being able to make those choices and tell people where to go and to push, it makes us really good in game. So yeah, I think we're going to be just fine. And it can be no fluke that we start games so solidly. You know, we fail to score in any game in the first 15 minutes. I think we're the only team who hasn't done that. And yet we score so frequently in the last quarter of games. This is not a fluke. It is the control and then gradual tweaking into the play of the game. And the ability to just find the space and find the space for ourselves and control the opposition about what they're doing, I think is immense. And it happens with little, apart from the halftime talk, it happens with less interaction from and instruction from Lebris than you might think. But that is immensely good coaching, the fact that the players understand what they're having to do. And he's talked a lot about that, Lebris, about saying he wants his players to talk to each other to solve problems themselves. Yeah, but he's also talked about they are solving things themselves, and you know, it is up to them to solve things. I will give them the tools, I will explain the system, and they have to solve things. It's great to have a coach with that sort of confidence and faith in players, and it's leading to the development of really good play and good players. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that?
No, who wouldn't? One thing I'd like to say, though, you said Wolves were vastly horrible, and I think a better word is honking. Yeah. That's my favourite word. And the wife she started adding it to her vocabulary because I use it all the time to describe things.
I saw somebody pick up on it in comments the other day as well. They've started to notice it's one of your favourite words.
Honking is my number one word.
But I'm looking forward to this second half of the season because we've seen every Premier League team we've played against now. We've seen them play other teams, and whereas we're a bit nervous to begin with, we can have confidence looking at how we play and being able to make those comparisons and say, do you know what? We're much better than Wolves, and it's easy to see why and where. It's going to be really interesting now that we're able to do that and have a bit more faith in ourselves. And the impact on the players, I think, when with them recognising the same things, I think will be huge. Awesome after AFCON, remember? And AFCON is now over.
Well, it's interesting because today this wonderful chap here made a video about Sunderland potentially getting into Europe, which I would recommend watching. Anyway, one of the reasons why I made that video is because I was looking at the Premier League table, and if we look from fourth down, right, Liverpool are fourth right now. They've got 36 points. And if you actually look after they won their first 5 games of the season, Liverpool have picked up 21 points after that point. And I think we've picked up 25. So we've actually been better than Liverpool for the last 17 games in terms of points.
And we've had a depleted side. So have they. But yeah.
You look at the next team is Manchester United, who are hot and cold. I don't think I can put my trust in Michael Carrick that he'll turn Man United around. Chelsea have just hired Liam Rosenior, who, again, I don't know how that's going to work out. Brentford are currently in 7th. They've got 33 points. They're very good at home. They're not as good away. Newcastle are in 8th, and they, if you watched them yesterday, they are not very good at the minute, and their fans are not very happy right now. We're in 9th. Everton are in 10th. They're hot and cold. Fulham are in 11th. They're hot and cold. Brighton currently getting beat up Bournemouth as we record this. They're in 12th. They're hot and cold. And I think after that, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, I don't know if they'll be in that conversation. So the reason why I made that video today is I looked at the Premier League table, and I think if everyone right now in this 4th to sort of 12th spot, there's one team that's quite obviously got positive momentum, and then there's Brentford as well. I would say Sunderland and Brentford are the only two in there that are very positive right now. Everyone else has got all sorts of problems going on, which I think means that kind of the back door is being left open for a team like Sunderland or like Brentford or maybe even like Everton or Fulham to get unexpectedly maybe into the top 7 where you wouldn't expect that to happen, because I think everyone else has got major problems, at the front door.
Yeah, given the way the Carabao Cup final looks to be headed, it will be European spots down to 7th. So and then I'm not sure the FA Cup rule. If the FA Cup winner, does it go to the league or does it go to the other finalists?
I think they've changed it now. I think it goes to the league. If it was say Man City against Leeds, and Man City won, Leeds wouldn't get into Europe. I believe is how it works now.
Yeah, it would go down to 8th then, because
But then
I'm pretty sure the League Cup
but
will
but
go to one
if
of the
say
top 6.
Arsenal won the
Five,
Champions League, then we get an additional place in Europe, I believe. There's
Well,
things
we're
there
going to
like
get 5. Yeah, there are
we get
maybe.
5
So we
Champions League.
get the 5 plus 1, would we? Well, I don't know about
So
that.
we'll get 5 Champions League, 2 Europa League, and 1 Conference League. The Conference League normally goes to the League Cup winner, but obviously we know that won't happen. Then
And one of the Europa Leagues is an FA Cup.
yeah, but it could also go to the Premier League depending on who wins the FA Cup. Now, obviously, if
So
we win the
5
FA
plus
Cup,
1 is 6. The League Cup almost certainly will mean it goes down to 7th. It's whether the FA Cup winner is somebody in the top 6 or 7. So
which
it
if
could
it's
go down to
us,
8.
it's good news for everyone. So it could go down to 8 if it's us. But yeah, I think that that's why when people, I think I put that video out, and a lot of people in the comments were like, "No, we obviously won't." But I think if you actually look at the context of the Premier League right now, I don't think it's unrealistic to say that Sunderland will pick up more points than Newcastle. That will be able to, if Chelsea, Man United, and Liverpool continually be bad. I mean, Sunderland picked up more points, not even just more, they picked up considerably more points than Liverpool since the 5th game of the season. And it's a
I
big sample size, that.
I am very tempted, if I'm the one that posts this video, to at this point cut in an early clip of Connor Bromley saying, "Oh, 16th, 15th, that'd be great for us, and compare you to now."
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is what it is.
But this is great. This is great. You too are suffering from a bout of extraordinary hope.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the hope that the hope that I can't stand, it's the hope that we can't stand. I don't know. I just think it's right now. Look, I saw a lot of people as well commenting saying we're not ready for Europe and it would kill we and all that. But
We weren't ready for the
fundamentally,
Premier League. We weren't ready for the Premier League.
why do people watch football? Why do we support Sunderland? We don't support Sunderland to go like, oh, we want to finish 9th so that next season we'll be able to finish 9th again, because we don't want to get into Europe because it might kill us. You support Sunderland because you want to see them into Europe. You want to see them do well in cup competitions. So, like,
I do.
I understand
but
that people are worried about, like, Nottingham Forest and they're worried about Crystal Palace. But also, I don't think those clubs are as smart as our club. And I think if we got into Europe, we would recruit correctly. Already, we have a squad that is nearly at the size needed to compete in Europe. We've actually looked at the size of our senior squad when everyone's back from AFCON. We actually don't have a bad squad size. It also helps with players like Chris Rigg, who need game time. Other young players we have to potentially get minutes. So I don't buy into the let's worry about next season and Europe could hurt us, because I really want to see Sunderland play in Europe, and I think this is a fantastic opportunity for Sunderland to get in there.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, I accepted that I probably wouldn't really see us win anything large, because it happens so rarely for teams, whoever you are, unless you're one of the big 3 or 4. It happens. I mean, even Liverpool have had 2 titles in like 15 years, and so what sort of chance do the rest of you have? So the vast majority of following a football team is losing or not winning, shall we say? So I'm sort of long ago, as a Sunderland fan, thought, well, I'm not going to, and I convinced myself that as I get older, supporting Sunderland is about my identity, is about who I am and where I grew up and my background and the people I know. But let's, I'll be honest with you, it's not. I'd love to fucking win something.
Screw them. Let's just win a trophy. Let's do something. I don't care about the heritage of it. I'm just a Sunderland fan.
Of course, I mean, I know, I do feel like that. But god damn, I'd love to win something. I just never thought we ever would.
Yeah. Well, that's why I implore every Sunderland fan who is looking at Europe and thinking, oh, how much will it hurt us next season, to just think, well, we've been relegated before. We've done all these terrible things. We've been in League One and all that stuff. Like, why would we turn down Europe? You want to get into Europe.
I
I want to hear the Europa Conference League, the Europa League, or the Champions League music at the Stadium of Light.
I watched your video and I had a bit of a calculation about how many points I thought we'd get, and I thought we would get about 56 if we play well on sort of current form. I thought we'd get 56, and I thought we'd finish about 9th, which means we just miss out, which would be heartbreaking. Do you think we'll make it?
I think that we'll be in the shake-up with 3 games to go. You know, I think with 3 games to go, if we were to say win our final 3 games, we'd get in, kind of thing. I think that's
Right.
where we'll be at with it.
Well, we can make a bet on it. I already have a forfeit lined up for you.
So you're betting against Sunderland getting into Europe. You're that negative that you're betting against Sunderland getting
But I'm
into
not
Europe.
the negative one, but I will go there. I don't think we'll make it. I don't think we'll make it. I think we'll just miss
against.
out.
Okay.
I am betting against, but I think we'll just miss out.
So you're betting against it. I'm betting for. Oh well, I'm betting on my team. So yeah, I'll bet Sunderland to get into
Good.
Europe.
Would you like to know what your forfeit is? If we
Well,
don't make it, we have to have some joy. If we don't make it, we have to have some joy from you.
The thing is I'm worried because if I agreed to the bet already and like whatever the forfeit is, I'll have to do. Or okay, well, what's the forfeit?
The forfeit is harmless. The forfeit is harmless. The forfeit for you, if we don't make it into Europe, that will bring the rest of us a small amount of joy, is that you will have to do a series of ethics episodes in the week of my choosing, dressed as Indiana Jones. I will provide the outfit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
And if we do make it,
fair.
you can have some time to think about what you want me to do.
We do have a Q&A podcast where a lot of people have commented on my disrespect of the Indiana Jones franchise.
Well, we
so
can
I think that's a fitting.
we can repeat the bet there.
Yeah, okay, that's a fitting. I'm trying to think if there's anything that you've particularly picked on or mine. I'm gonna have to think about it. Maybe I'll come back like next week with a punishment for you if we do get into Europe. Maybe I'll make you dress as Indiana Jones for a game.
For a game to go
Our first European game dressed as Indiana Jones.
I have to go with Indiana Jones. Well, that sounds fair enough. If you win and we make it into Europe, I have to go to a European game dressed as Indiana Jones.
Yes.
All right.
And
if we don't...
I think maybe you have to wear like a sign pointing out the fact that like you are dressed as Indiana. Like it needs to be something that people don't think you're just a quirky sort of. I don't know. It looks kind of like a.
Why would they think that about me anyway?
Okay, I like that. Right, you're gonna go as Indiana Jones. So when we play Cluj in the Europa League group stage, you're gonna be there as Indiana Jones.
If not, you're going to be doing a week online dressed as Indiana Jones in the
That's
week of
fine.
my
I think your punishment's far worse, to be honest. So
I love dressing up. You've got it all wrong.
Okay, fair enough. Right.
Let's talk about the Palace game, shall we?
Yeah, we've been really sidetracked here. So, right, Trey Hume, I want to mention him, and I know we've got a heat map there, so that's ideal, but I feel like if Trey Hume isn't playing in that sort of right wing back position, we probably don't score that first goal. The overlap from Mukeli, I think, is probably because Mukeli trusts that Trey Hume won't go crazy and join the. Do you know what I mean? Like if we were building an attack and he was say there with Adingra, does Adingra cover Mukeli doing the overlap? Probably not. Whereas Hume does.
Now, when the team sheet came out, and you asked me this in the post game review, and when the team sheet came out, I wasn't happy that Trey Hume was there because I think we both kind of thought we would rather have Mayenda, who's good at defending, capable, and is also a bit of a hassle. And I felt we'd have a lot of the ball and we should get at them, and Mayenda would help do that. My problem with Hume in getting at people is that the end product isn't there. And that's not his fault. He's not a striker or a forward. And, at the weekend, the end product wasn't there. He has a free header and he has a shot which hits the bar. But, on another day, maybe those things go in. But it has been something that's been said about him in the past that he needs to add assists and goals to his stuff. He did it last season. The comment was made the season before. He needs to do it again. However, I have changed my view, and I think he was exactly the right selection because I think if you look at the midfield of Palace, they play 3-5-2. and they sit in and break a lot. And I think the whole point of having Hume there was to combat the numbers in the midfield and attempt to dominate the game. And I think that the game showed that is exactly what happens. That Hume enabled Sunderland to control the game in the midfield, and I've changed my opinion. I think he was crucial, and I think if you look at where Sunderland's play was, you can see the focus of our play here is almost entirely down the left-hand side. Obviously, there's some attack on the right, but it's very heavily focused down the left-hand side with a lot of ball between Siddiqui, Reinildo, and Mundle. And I think that is, that is because Hume is able to, has to fold back from being in a very high position to being in a defensive one when we're in the middle third of the pitch. So I think that's why the focus goes there, because it enables us to have numbers and a bit of caution, but it also enables us to attack, perhaps not in the same ferocity as we would down the left, but it's just typical Regis, isn't it? Safety first, and Hume enables us to do that. And so here is Hume's. Where would you say he was playing?
So I think. I mean, I can kind of see an outline of this heat map, but this is where I actually thought he was playing. I thought he was playing right midfield. Not right wing, right midfield.
Yeah, I mean, if you look here, I think he is playing pretty much right wing. Most of his play is up in that right wing slot. So it is a case of him playing right wing. But he's clearly got such a great engine on him that he is able, and this is what happened. It's a bit like Fulham, but it's better managed. In Fulham where Silva exploited that gap from Hume folding back, and we haven't liked it when we've seen it sometimes. But this was an altogether better managed system. And I think it works against Palace because Palace were so passive. And so I think if you did it again against Fulham, it wouldn't work again against them. But Palace was so passive that I think it made sense to do this. And if you like, this was doubling down on that sort of thing, because with Hume being so far up the field at times. I mean, I complain he doesn't get the free header, but he's in the box getting a free header. He had 2 of them, I think. And he's up there, an awful lot. And you just think, what on earth is going on with him being so high up the field? He's literally playing right wing. And so this is a doubling down on those tactics that we talked about away to Fulham. But you can do that against Palace because they are the second most passive team and the second most defensive team in the league. So it was exactly the right time to do it. And upon reflection, clearly the extraordinary Regis Lebris is far better than me being upset in the first 5 minutes of seeing the team sheet. So having had a chance to reflect, I think it's incredible. And, really good. Who do you think bosses the right wing? Because it isn't, in fact, Trey Hume. It is Mukiele.
Yeah, the ukulele.
And look at that. He is literally the entire right touchline is a no-go area for the opposition. It's extraudinary that the man is everywhere up and down that pitch.
What level do you think he actually is? Like, if we were to say, like, does he get into every team in the Premier League, pretty much? Do you think he's that good?
I mean, it's not the most exciting position to watch centre halves, and I've been so happy with mine. I haven't paid much attention to examining the quality of the centre halves of other teams.
I'm talking about being a right back, not even a centre.
Oh, being a right winger. Whoa. Well, yeah. I mean, he's certainly better than Lewis Hall, isn't he? Everyone raves about him. He got in an England squad recently, didn't he?
Although he's a left back. To be fair.
Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking, is it not Miley? Who's the one who plays there? No. He's left back. Yes, he is left back. Yeah, he is left back. Yeah. It's only because he comes. Livramento. Well, he plays for England as well. Yeah. Look, I don't know enough about the French national squad, but I would be staggered if he isn't in Didier Deschamps thinking about the long list for the large squad before it has to be reduced. I mean, he's performed incredibly, vastly in excess of what anybody thought he would do. He was a player who they were happy to let go at PSG. They loaned him to Leverkusen. He's been good, but not amazing but playing for big clubs. And and they just thought, well, he's kind of a pretty good second tier sort of replacement centre half, and he's come to us without enormous expectation, and he's been incredible. I mean, talk about taking your chance. He has absolutely taken the chance of the spotlight of the Premier League this season. It's been incredible for him, and he's got to be in with a shout of making the long list for the French squad, you'd think. I don't know enough about their centre halves. Perhaps other people who watch this might do. So, great stuff. So it worked having Hume and Lefebvre there, although the focus in attack is largely down the left rather than the right. And who do you think covers well? Because you can see. But I think a lot of praise for Lefebvre, who is quite simply everywhere on the pitch, putting in tackles, available for passes, spraying it about. There literally isn't a quadrant of the pitch. You divide them up into those sort of 16 zones. I think possibly 18 zones, isn't it? I think possibly zone 16, the top left corner where the Sunderland badge is the only zone he's not in, and maybe zone 2, zone where Roofs basically kicks everybody out of the way. So it's incredible. The man is literally all over the park. So what a tremendous performance it was. And I do have a couple of other things, but I feel like I should stop talking. I'm sure you've got something to add.
No, I say continue on. I can see Mundle's coming on here, so I think after the game...
Well, I just wanted to... Go on, yeah.
I was going to say after the game, I think you were a bit more critical of Mundle than me. I wasn't particularly critical of him. I thought he did okay. But as I listened to Roke Report today, they were sort of heaping a bit of praise on him, saying that he was kind of being given a rough deal after the game. I think a lot of fans said that he didn't play great, and when I watched the highlights back, and then also when I just think back of the game, I think considering it was his second Premier League start, his first Premier League start, maybe first or second, I thought he did pretty well. I think he's also a player that's
his Premier League debut, full debut.
Yeah, so his first start, and I think he's a player that, to be fair, we don't even know a lot about because we didn't see him a ton last season at his best. We got him for about a couple of months at the start of the season at his best, and I just think I'm curious to see how he'll do if he gets minutes. We talked about Dingre, and I want to see him get minutes, but Mundle, I think probably offers a little bit more in his overall game. I think he's less skillful, but I think he offers maybe a tad more than Mundle overall.
I think he has more pace. He is much more solid defensively than Adingra. He's much more physical defensively than Adingra, and much more willing defensively. I think I saw him winning balls back in our own corner flag. So I think the Bris will like that more. However, he needs game time because I think that there are aspects of his game that needs to improve. The ball needs to be controlled. It's got to be closer to his feet. It gets away from him a bit too much because, Premier League players, don't side you down and don't lose track of you, and they're always in the right position, goal side of you, stuff like that. The final delivery needs to be a bit better. But actually, if you think about all of our wingers, we don't really play in flooding the box for crosses. So it's perhaps unfair to criticise him for that because no one in our team particularly gets good balls into the box with great frequency, although we did have some at the weekend. But let's remember that's the second most passive side we're going to play between now and the end of the season. So maybe some of those complaints are unfair. And the way that he will improve those things, I know the one complaint is he can't really go past a man. He tends to cut inside, chop inside and take a shot. Well, okay, but he's one of the few players who's having those shots. And he nearly scored against Everton. It was a great save from Pickford. The only way that he's going to improve and realise that these things aren't, need to be developed and need to be selected a bit better and a bit more thoughtfully, is he has to play and he has to come up against the opposition and realise that he's not going to be able to charge them down like he did in the Championship. But that takes game time and minutes. And we're in a position to give him some. I don't know how much he'll get when Talby comes back, but and Diarra is fit, because I don't think people will want to drop Lefebvre or Siddiqui. So I think it gets a bit more difficult. But I think these games have been good for him, and he does need time, and I think he will develop. He's certainly got the mentality to do so. But I just want to, I'll put it up because I have it here. This is Mundle's heat map. But the reason I had it is I wanted to compare it. So a lot of people saying, well, and I was one of those saying I was disappointed that Hume is there because his final delivery isn't great. Okay, fair enough, but from the wing, whose is it's not kind of, we don't really play to that advantage. But Hume was great. Hume was everywhere, and I wanted to compare Mundle's interactions to Hume's. And I just think Hume is covering a great distance and offering actually probably more than Mundle. And I think that's a reflection on just how well Hume played at the weekend. If I, again, this is Hume's heat map to Mundle's heat map. And I think that's where you would expect a winger to be. But when we have a winger who's also folding into a back five, I mean, what an achievement that is. I had them both, not to say anything negative about Mundle, but to illustrate just how well Hume had contributed to the team at the weekend.
Yeah, I thought Hume was very good. And it makes it very difficult to decide what to do when Habib Diarra is back. But we'll save that for the Q&A episode because plenty of people are asking those questions. Is there anything else we need to talk about Crystal Palace before we wrap this one?
There is. I just wanted to kind of develop that point about our progressive passes and our flanks and about the lack of a final ball. It's not really the way we play. And I wanted to do this, if I can, by sharing the screen where I could kind of show this and break this down a bit against opposition. But you will probably need the team sheet up to keep me straight about the comparisons with the Palace players. So it's not that. So, I want.
So I need the team sheets of both.
Yeah, Sofa score. Yeah, I know our wingers and fullbacks. It's matching them to theirs. I might get wrong. Just keep me straight.
Okay.
So I want to have a look at this, and hopefully people can see this. Okay. If I now. There we go. Add to stage. There we are. So these are the progressive passes of Sunderland on the left and Palace on the right. And I think the first thing you notice is you can see just how left focused we are with our progressive passes, which is partly due to the fact that Hume has to do a lot of defending and folding back in the middle third of the pitch, and also partly due to the fact that this is. We have an ever-present full winger up there in Mundle, so it's always an outlet for ball. And if you compare it to Palace, who seem to have very little wing play at all on either side, but I want to just kind of break down so we can see it. If we have a look at the combination of Reynildo and Mundle and their progressive pass on the left there, and then I think they are up against Devaney and Brennan Johnson, who they're on the right for them. There's a wing back and right forward for them. And ours are vastly more productive than theirs. However, we get one ball into the box from, I think it's Mundle here. That's one completed ball into the box. And they get a couple into the box. So with far less control and progressive passing, they are getting into the box. If I have a look at the other side and have a look at Mukiele and Hume, I can see that there's a pretty good coverage there. We actually get. Look at Mukiele. I mean, what's he doing turning up over here? But it's ball in. Must be from a throw in. Yeah. It's got to be. Yeah. So he's throw in knocked back to him, but completely unexpected. So again, I think we've got two balls into the box here. I just think for the dominance that we have, and on the other side, I think I'm looking
Mitchell
at
is it Pino.
Mitchell and Pino. Yeah. And Pino likes to play in the midfield a bit more. I think again, they are putting more balls into the box here with far fewer progressive passes. So I do think, that fans, when they say we need to get the ball into the box a bit, I do think that they're right about this. And I do think it's something that we need to work on. But I'm not going to complain anything more than that about it. That's our wing play in entirety. And if I compare it to theirs, I mean, I think it's clear who is dominating the play. But
Yeah.
also just on just on just on this comparison here, if I again take Mukiele and there's a lot more focus of play down the left hand side than there is down the right hand side, although not by much necessarily, but there is a lot more, and that's because of the necessity for Hume to fall back into defence. So really good by Bris in terms of helping to select Hume there, and he worked extraordinarily hard to help dominate the midfield and provide us with that base from which to win the game, and dominate we did, particularly in the second half. If you look at the momentum chart here, and I think everybody who watched the game will remember that we just didn't, they didn't get a look in for all the second half until
No.
after we scored, when they're
They
desperate.
were honking in the second half, Crystal Palace.
I think I know
Absolutely
where the place
honking.
to leave it.
Yeah. Right. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll have a Q&A, which is a new thing that we're trying out. So that'll be out as well. And then we'll have our preview in propaganda. We'll try and sneak in a propaganda this week as well, because I know that everyone loves a little bit of propaganda. So Taff, thanks for joining me on this one. Thanks everyone for watching. And we'll catch you all again very soon.